Hey, you know how artists tend to think in colors and shapes and stuff? I'm like, yeah, and I didn't know where you were going with that.
Right.
You go, I tend to think in Instagram.
One of the most common questions that I get is, how did you and Bedros meet? My name is Craig Ballantyne. My business partner here is Bedros Keuilian. Welcome to the Empire Podcast Show. And today we're going to go through the history of Empire and teach you some amazing lessons about how we've grown our businesses and also what's coming next. You ready, B?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right. So it all starts back in 2007 when I saw this terrorist online.
Okay, now.
So if you don't know, this beautiful man with the beautiful hair beside me used to shave his head for some strange reason.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, let's share the reason. We might as well share this. So there was a time in the, let's see here, early 2000s. So actually late 1999, 2000. I was broke.
You didn't have lice at this point.
No. I was so broke that I lived out of my Toyota pickup for a few
Right.
months. And in that time, I was trying to save money any way I can.
Sure.
So instead of paying $16 for a haircut,
Yeah.
I had a pair of clippers.
Yeah.
And so every 3 days I would just shave my own head.
Yeah.
And it went from like using the guard, one day the guard breaks. You know how like the guard
yeah.
has like those little plastic teeth on it? Well, it breaks and now I'm leaving like these little skid marks on my
Yeah.
head. And so I just take off the guard and just go, zero. And so that's how I ended up bald for, I think, a period of like 4 or 5 years.
Did you get married bald?
I did.
Wow.
I got married bald, and it wasn't until one day my wife said, hey, it doesn't look like you have male pattern balding. Why is your head always bald? I said, you know what, I'm in the habit of shaving it.
Right.
And she goes, you might want to consider growing it out, considering there's bald people everywhere who would love to have the kind of hair that you probably have.
That seems like a Seinfeld episode right there.
Yeah.
So anyways, 2007, is that when you had Fitness Business Summit for the first time?
First Fitness Business Summit was 2007, yeah.
And you had
it was
Jillian Michaels was there?
Jillian Michaels, yeah, man. She was just starting out a couple years into the Biggest Loser show.
Yeah.
And so we thought it'd be great to have her as like the big keynote speaker. And that woman drops F-bombs like a fucking trucker.
Wow.
It was so bad that we couldn't use any of the recording like for any kind of social media stuff because we knew we would offend people. But the audience loved her to pieces.
Wow. And that was back when you didn't have a stage.
No stage, man. The first Fitness Business Summit, we had about 114 people in the audience. No stage. I was sweating profusely. I was so nervous. And but I think it was right around then you and I started sending each other books.
That was
maybe?
2009, but I think the big lesson from that is that imperfect action beats perfect inaction, right?
True.
Yeah, absolutely. So he didn't have a stage, but he wanted to have an event, and you didn't really know how to monetize it because you weren't selling masterminds.
I didn't make any money from that. I lost $13,000 at that event.
Right. Okay. And then, so what was the big lesson that you learned from it for the next year?
The big lesson I had, there was two big lessons. One, get a stage.
Right.
Two, have something to pitch, have something to sell, because if you don't, you're never going to monetize. We didn't even have sponsors. So have sponsors who are going to bring in money, right? Have a stage so that people in the, it was embarrassing. Everyone in the front can see me, but no one behind the front row could see me because all these people are in the way. So get a stage, number one, have sponsors who are going to pay for the cost of the event, and then for you to start making money, have a product or service to pitch. And of course, these days we sell our mastermind from the events.
One more question. How did you get Jillian Michaels at this event if she's already on TV?
Dude, I just got stupidly lucky. We reached out, and I think her star was just starting to take off.
Oh, okay.
It was her second or third year, I think, on Biggest Loser.
Got it.
It wasn't as big as it became.
Yeah.
And so it cost us, I want to say $15,000 to get her.
Got it.
At the time, and I went all in. So like, what money I had left over, I'm like, here you go, Jillian. This is going to help draw an audience, and it did.
Sure.
I probably would have only got like 40, 50 people, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Had I not had Jillian.
Yeah. So we didn't know each other back then, and then I don't know what happened first, but when people ask me that question, how did we meet? I say, one of us sent a book to one another. So I was on your email newsletter list. You had heard of me, and I sent you a book, or you sent me a book, and then you sent me one back, and the next thing you know,
I think you had sent the first book.
Okay. I wish I would remember what book it was.
Yeah, because I don't remember the book. I know one of the books because we kept sending each other books, and one of them ultimately was maybe the third or fourth round in was The Go Giver by Bob Berg, an amazing book about the Power of Giving, Coming with the Giving Hand. Highly recommend reading the Go Giver.
Yeah, sent a lot of those out to a lot of people over the years. And so you and I are like, oh, okay, this guy's friendly, he's helpful, you know, we're sending each other books back and forth. That is us being go-givers. So you're probably thinking, how do I establish a relationship with somebody? Well, now in this day and age, you can connect with them a lot faster on Instagram, but try and figure out a way that you can help people, okay? A way that you can help them when you're trying to start a relationship. So there's a really great book by a guy named Keith Ferrazzi. It's called Never Eat Alone. And in the book, there's a couple of lines I took from the book, and one of them was, when you want to establish that connection with somebody, is ease their pain and help their kids. So you figure out, you know, oh man, this person, you know, I just read that they had back problem or something. I'm going to send them, like, you know, this thing helped me with my back pain. I'm going to send them that. I'm going to send it, you know, like whether it's $150 or whatever it is, you know, that piece of equipment that's going to help them. And then of course you got to be careful. You don't want to. That's like ease their pain, help their kids. You don't want to be like rooting around their garbage or anything to find out their pain, but just simply add value to somebody's life, and that's how you start the relationship.
Yep. And that's how we did. We just started sending each other books, and quite honestly, I remember very specifically, after you sent the first book, I just looked you up online. I'm like, oh, he's got an online information product. And it's like, wow, I didn't even know this guy was on my list. And quite honestly, I looked up to you because I was just starting to get online,
Sure.
right? So I had my first fitness business summit, but I wasn't making the kind of online money that you probably were, at least the traction that you were getting.
Sure, but then you started a mastermind group.
Yes.
And you, how did that go? You sent me an email about it?
Yeah, so it was 2009, and I think I thank you for the book, and
Yeah.
you started kind of emailing back and forth. And, you know, this is about how we met and how the empire started. Craig had this crazy little habit of not responding. Do you remember this, you little fucker? You had this habit of not responding to people's emails. And I remember Vince one time saying years later, yeah, the only way I could get Craig to respond to an email is if I said, hey, I want to give you money.
I will respond to that
You were
email.
selling from day one, which
Right.
is God bless you for it. But he had this habit of like either not responding or he would do just a one-word response.
Sure.
Yeah, which these
training people.
Yeah, and you did a good job of it.
Yeah.
So I thank you for it and for the book and stuff. And then when I started the mastermind in 2009, the 7-figure formula mastermind, the first time I started a mastermind program, I reached out to you and I said, hey man, I'm starting a mastermind. I think you might be a good fit. I think I can help you sell more of your online stuff. And you're like, yeah, I'm in. And then going back to being a go-giver, you said, by the way, you should reach out to Vince Del Monte as well. Let me introduce you, and I'll work on getting him in as well.
Cool.
And Vince was part of that very first mastermind group as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from then, we decided, like, you know what, we should start one in the online space. And we did. We started one with Vince, and we had a big event, and you sold it from stage. You were really great. We had 40 people in that mastermind, which started in 2009. So we are going on a full decade of dominance here, and a decade of decadence too, with all our some of our evenings out, especially in Miami. And so listen, so then we
Was that the Epic Hotel, by the way? That we had that crazy ass meal where we talked about
that was at
dinosaurs. Zuma.
Right.
We talked about dinosaurs, we talked about Jesus, and we ate steak that was so expensive, sold like, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, $200 an ounce, and we just kept saying, hey, bring more ounces, and I don't know if it was a waiter or waitress.
The waitress was either disgusted or disturbed by us.
Yeah, she goes, you do realize this was sold by the ounce? We're like, yeah, it's sold by the ounce, keep bringing it. But we were having such a good time eating steak and talking about Jesus and dinosaurs.
Yes, it was good. It was an epic evening at the Epic Hotel. So we, you know, in 2009 or 10, we were sitting in a room. I remember when we hatched this plot to start the mastermind, which is we were drinking Heinekens.
Heinekens, that's right. I ordered room service of Heinekens.
Room service Heinekens, and we came up with the idea of, you know what, this is a lesson that I want to teach. So a lot of people ask about partnerships, and most of the time we say don't do a partnership, right?
Yep.
Because, well, there's a million reasons
There's
why.
a million reasons, and I think, have we done an episode on
Yeah, we have done one.
Yeah, go back and listen to why you shouldn't have a partner. Having said that, we're business partners, but we've got a very unique relationship, and if you can create this type of relationship, and we explain that in that episode, but yeah, we talked about don't start partnerships yet, we're in a partnership.
Yeah, and the one reason is find somebody who has complementing skills and attributes. And back then, and we were just joking about this last night, back then you were like the real social one and I was not the social one, and I had the online stuff and you had the offline stuff.
Yeah.
Today, we both have the online and offline stuff, but
you're a hell lot happier in social, and I'm just a curmudgeon motherfucker, aren't I? I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to see anyone. I just want to mind my own business and grow my empire.
Yeah, and here I am. Let's go. Yeah, up with people. Yeah.
By the way, I want to tell everybody this. Friends, yesterday we're having dinner. We're having sushi at Sushi 10. Big shout out, by the way, to Aaron at Sushi 10.
That's
Get
my
the
man
eel
right
roll.
There. Yeah. Get the eel good roll.
Eel good roll and the PW roll. And the PW does stand for exactly what you think. The PW roll also crushes. But we're sitting at a Sushi 10 right here in Chino Hills. And what were we just talking about right now?
Well, I was going out for dinner like 3 nights in a row and stuff like that. We were talking about that.
Oh, I lost my train of thought, man.
About the social stuff?
Oh, yes, the social stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, you know how artists tend to think in colors and shapes and stuff? I'm like, yeah, and I didn't know where you were going with that.
Right.
You go, I tend to think in Instagram. This is why I do so well on Instagram. And you nailed it. You really do think in Instagram.
I'm thinking about Instagram right now.
When I got home, I logged onto Instagram, and I see in my messages that there's a post from you.
Yep.
And the post is just me typing away as you're like sitting across the table from me in Sushi 10, filming me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just always thinking about it.
You think in Instagram.
So get your partner who can complement you. That's a big, big lesson. So that's what we did in 2010. That's when we started our first info mastermind.
One more lesson in that. One more lesson in that. And I think you're being modest here. But even though we're 50-50 partners on the Empire Mastermind and our coaching program, we both work like we own 100% of it.
Yeah.
Like we constantly try and outwork each other.
Sure.
And then when you're in a time of, you're just neck deep in shit to do, I try and do more of the heavy lifting. Times like now, when I'm neck deep in the growth of Fit Body Bootcamp, good Lord, man, you put all the outlines for these Empire podcast shows, I don't have time for it.
Right.
And you make it easy for me. And so if you can find
and we're having a competition to find the best speakers for the Empire Summit.
Yeah, so if you can outwork your partner, or at least attempt to, you're going to have a great relationship. Most partnerships are the opposite, right?
Right. If you can outwork your partner where they're trying to outwork you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it becomes lopsided, and one guy gets entitled, the other guy gets pissed.
Yeah. So we start our info mastermind late 2009, 2010. That was like the info mastermind that launched a bunch of millionaires. That's for sure.
Holy smokes! Yeah, like legends in the industry, right?
Yeah, Jason Phillips, Shauna Kaminsky, Vince Del Monte. Man, we can go on and on and on. We had so many people. It'd be great to have like a
Robbie
reunion.
Blanchard, who's running traffic for like legends now.
Yeah, I mean that guy is a machine. So we did that for several years, and we loved it, but then we outgrew it, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and great thing to talk about, and another great lesson for you. There comes a time when you're excited about something, you're going to grow it out of sheer passion, and because you're just going to lean into it and make the needle move.
Yeah.
And we were both doing online marketing at the time. We had online courses and stuff, and so we got excited about doing that stuff and coaching people on that stuff. Then I started launching the coaching or the Fit Body Bootcamp franchise.
Yeah.
You went down the road of the Perfect Day Formula book, and of course your Perfect Day coaching program. And I remember us sitting somewhere after a mastermind, and I remember saying,
let's just say it was Merchants in Nashville, because we have such great memories of eating brisket at Merchants in Nashville.
Hey, there's another great place. So we talked about Zuma at the Epic Hotel in Miami.
And Sushi 10 here in Chino Hills.
We talked about Sushi 10 here in Chino Hills. The Merchants in Nashville, Tennessee, they've got a thick, giant piece of brisket that they put on a big brick of cornbread.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it was so good.
Duck fried tater tots.
And duck fried tater tots. And that meal was so good that when the lady came back around with the dessert menu, what did I order?
Brisket.
I ordered another round of brisket and cornbread for dessert because it was just that good.
Yeah. And one more shout out.
Yeah.
Joe's Stone Crab.
Joe's Stone Crab, that's right.
Not just the one in Vegas, which is good, but the one in South Beach, Miami.
And if we're giving shout outs to other restaurants, we do have to drop in Prime 112 in Miami as well.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Gotta
just
go
took
there.
Ed and Joan and Bryce
fried
out
Oreos.
there. Yeah. Oh, fried Oreos, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
And the view's not so bad either. Beautiful view of the ocean. That's what I was talking about.
Absolutely. So listen, we were pushing and challenging ourselves.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you took, you might have been doing it already, and then you kind of took like one of these ideas that I talked about about the deadlines at one of the masterminds. We were pushing and challenging ourselves. So you did these 6-week challenges throughout the years that I've known you.
Well, it started because of what you said.
Right. And so go through that little story, and then you've grown a lot of valuable skills over through these 6-week challenges, which people can listen and can say, you know what, I can do something for 6 weeks in my business or in my personal life.
Yeah, let me tell you this, man. If you guys want to really excel in your business, what I'm about to tell you is a prescription for success and not a suggestion. So we're sitting in the Info Mastermind group that Craig and I ran. This was probably about 3 or 4 years into it. I know the year was 2010, so maybe it was 1 year into it.
It was early in it.
It was early. It was 1 year into it. And Craig is just leaning into one of our coaching clients in the nicest, kindest way possible, in a very crusty way. And he's leaning into the coaching client, and I forget who the coaching client was, but they had some easy deadline about making an opt-in page, but the deadline was like 6 months out, right? And you're like, look, I want you to cut your deadlines in half and then cut them in half again. And so as you're leaning into this person and you're talking about how they have an obligation and a duty to get this product out because I remember the line you said, there's people crying themselves to sleep every night because you haven't launched your product yet that's going to help them. And so you need to cut your deadlines in half and then cut them in half again. I'm getting so pumped up in that moment. See, what you didn't realize is years earlier, I had promised my wife to run a marathon with her. I was like, hey, I'll run a marathon with you at some point. Well, here 9 years have gone by and I never ran the marathon, so I felt like a liar. And I kept kicking that deadline for the marathon down the road. And so as you're pumping this guy up, I'm getting so pumped up. I'm like, that's right, I'm cutting my deadline in half. And so I text her under the table. I'm like, hey, when is your next marathon? She goes, well, the next marathon is in San Diego, the Rock and Roll Marathon, 26.2 miles, full marathon. I was like, great, sign me up, I'm doing it. Because you had me all hyped up, right? And she goes, no, it's not a half marathon, it's a full marathon. I go, I'm doing it. And so in that group, so the lesson
you didn't say how long it was yet.
Oh, 6 weeks.
Right. It was only 6 weeks away.
In 6 weeks. So here's 2 lessons there. One, cut your deadlines in half, folks, and then cut them in half again, and you will accomplish it. I ran and finished that marathon, and my goal was to run and finish it before they cut the marathon short. Because remember, they can't shut down the city all day. It starts at 6 a.m., ends like at 12 noon or something, and if you haven't come to a certain point through the marathon, they just cut it short and move everybody to the finish line so they can open up the city. And hell or high water, I was going to finish a full marathon. And so, one, cut your deadlines in half, cut them in half again. Your body is resilient, your mind is resilient, can do anything. Number 2, I was like, shit, I just signed up for a marathon that's 6 weeks from now. I hadn't run more than half a mile. And not by choice, maybe because I need to run to the gas station because my car ran out of gas and I need to get some gas or something half a mile away. But in that group, there was Jill.
The running coach.
Yeah, runwithjill.com. I don't know if the website is still up, but there's a shout out to Jill. She was a running coach. And during the lunch break at the mastermind, I go, hey, Jill, Craig got me so hyped up right now when he was reprimanding that guy and telling him to cut his deadlines in half. I just signed up for the San Diego Marathon, and I'm running it in 6 weeks. I need you to create a running program for me, right? And she goes, oh, 16 weeks? We can do that. I go, no, you heard wrong. 6 weeks.
And I'm wearing Chuck Taylor Converse when I'm running.
Yeah. And I wear Chucks, right? And so she, again, hire a coach. A coach can help you time collapse. She created a program for me. I reached out to her every 3 days. And
she got you through the shin splints and all that
Yeah, got
stuff.
me through the shin splints. I got proper shoes for it because obviously you can't run and train in Chuck Taylors. But the lesson there of cutting your deadlines in half and then getting a coach to help you time collapse and get the results were huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Game changer there. So pushing yourself, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people is great. And then so in 2015, we were moving on mentally, and then you came to my Perfect Life workshop, my very first one in November 11th, 2015, and you, at one point
You're
in the
like
day,
a Rain Man with all these, like you remember everything.
I know. Well, it's good and bad. So I remember you had this moment where you're like, yes, you had a huge breakthrough. And that's like one of the things I love seeing in people over the course of the day is when they have that huge breakthrough. And it was something about building an empire mastermind.
Yeah. So it's dude, by the way, in that group, we had Jay Ferrugia, who now you help him get clarity in his domination workshops that he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Samantha Taylor, who now has 5 or 6
Fit Body
Bootcamp locations. Brian Stecker, who's crushing it in Vancouver, Washington, with his gym.
And Megan Kruger,
Fit Body Bootcamp owner, crushing it. Awesome woman. And of course, I was in there too. I don't know how I snuck in, but you were kind enough to let me in. But it was in that moment, because I remember thinking, like, if I have to teach someone to create another opt-in page, I'm going to just gouge my own eyes out. And I remember venting to you about that, like, hey, dude, I think we've both outgrown the 100K info group mastermind.
I think we had shut it down then.
Maybe we had, And so, but it was that day in that Perfect Life workshop that you were running that I had the clarity that, hey, we're building empires now. We're not building opt-in pages, and we need to teach others to build empires like we are. And that's where the idea of the Empire Mastermind was spawned. And then, of course, that led to the Empire Podcast. And, of course, what we've got coming up in August of 2019.
The first ever
Empire Business Summit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that, because it's going to be 2 days, August 16th and 17th in San Diego, California, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So the Empire Business Summit is really, if you're in the real estate world, in the financing world, in the fitness world, coaching and consulting, if you're a thought leader, if you're an entrepreneur of any sort, a publisher of a book, online course, any type of business where you want to scale in getting more customers, scale in increasing profits, and scale in your leadership abilities and building leaders under you, you've got to come to the Empire Business Summit in August, because those 2 days are not only going to be jam-packed with actionable information, we're also bringing some badass presenters there who we can't talk about right now, but these are people who are crushing it in their specific industries, from nutrition to real estate to New York Times bestselling authors, you name it.
It's going to be absolutely amazing, so save the date. August 16th and 17th in beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. You'll be there with the handsome Bedros Keuilian and good old Canadian Craig Ballantyne, and we will be there to help you grow your empire. So again, this is not for people who want to stay in a business where it's like a job and you're like working and trading time for money. No, this is like if you're serious about going to the next level, you'll want to find out more.
I mean, this is straight up about like building legacy wealth and an empire where we're talking generating 5 million plus, right? And if you think your business has the ability to go 5 million, 10 million, 20, $100 million, right? But you just don't know how to get there. You need the blueprint and you need the skill sets installed in you. That's what we're doing over those 2 days at the Empire Business Summit in August, and it's going to be a game changer. But obviously we're talking about how we met and the history of the Empire Show and the Empire Mastermind and of course the Empire Business Summit. Listen, folks, in life you're going to go through different phases. You know, Craig and I had a gym and I was a personal trainer. You were a personal trainer.
I was.
In a gym. You worked for a supplement manufacturer for some time. We go through different phases where you went into creating an online info product. I opened up more gyms. Then I sold my gyms and went into coaching and consulting personal trainers. Then you started coaching and consulting, and we joined the mastermind. We created the mastermind together, and we decided that, hey, we're outgrowing that mastermind, the info group, because we don't want, if we teach one more person to create an opt-in page, we're going to kill ourselves. At least I was going to kill you first. If I'm going, you're going. So I was going to kill you first, and then think about killing myself. And ultimately decide not to. But why not? But truly, you're going to go through different phases of life. And it's okay to move on and either sell that business, and we've done that, or to shut it down and take the profits from that and parlay into your next passion or into your next phase of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I did in the fitness space, is we actually used the recurring revenue from the fitness space to kind of give me that cash profit insurance that gave me the cushion to move into the new business, and now we've ramped it up. So that's a really great point, is listen, we're always going to evolve. We're going to grow as people. As you grow as people, you get surrounded with new people and new ideas, and that's absolutely what you must do. Environment is everything. Environment is your destiny, and so if you're ready to change your future, make sure you get to the Empire Summit, August 16th and 17th in San Diego, California. All right? Until then, my friend, make sure you go to iTunes and Stitcher and all those good sites and give us a 5-star review. Tell your friends, tell your mama.
Tell your mama.
And make sure to see us in San Diego.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us on the Empire Podcast Show. The best way you can thank us is to leave a 5-star review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, leave a comment and share this podcast with a friend. And if you'd like to grow your business to the highest level of success, go to bedroskeuilian.com/empire and fill out the application where you can join myself and Craig Ballantyne in the Empire Mastermind Group.